The value and meaning of life. Xiefeng. May 18, 2011. Life is co-substantiated by life, but each are different entities. Life is only a single journey of life in the mortal world, but life exists eternally. The former can end at any time, but the later will continue on. A life may appear as a horse in the animal world in one life, then as a person in another, and then as a celestial being in the 10,000-year world in a third. It is like a person changing their clothes to meet changing weather conditions or the fashions of the times. Those different clothes are like different lives, and the person's body is like a life. The wild grasses grow in the fields lushly, they flourish in the spring and wither in the autumn each year. The wild fire can never burn them out because they will thrive when spring breeze blowing. Flourishing once and withering once is the life of grass, but as that life ends and then spring's warmth looms, their next life begins in a never-ending cycle, while life and growth continue endlessly. Why is grass endless? Because grass life exists eternally. People have many lives, this one, all the ones before, and all the ones still to come, just as grass grows in spring and summer, withers in autumn and winter, has done so for countless seasons, and will continue to do so for countless more. The essence of life is a non-material structure with spirituality which is invisible, untouchable, and illustrates itself through life. This is like the essentialities, forms, and use of Tao. We cannot see Tao because it is a non-material existence, but we can know that all things in the universe are its manifestations through the images of the world and the use of all things. Life comes into view through material forms which are visible and palpable. All plants, animals, and people on earth are visible and touchable lives. Life can also exist in non-material forms which are invisible, untouchable, and are in the non-material world, such as ghosts in the underworld, gods and Buddha in the Elysium world, and super-celestial beings from the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. All these are spiritual forms. It is just like people who appear in the material world as flesh and blood, but also in the non-material world, such as Dreamland, in the form of spirits. Although the essence of life is a non-material structure with spirituality, it is difficult for people to understand it. We can view lives as souls and souls as lives. What are souls? They are consciousnesses wandering in the boundless ocean of psyche. We can simplify lives as consciousnesses to make them easier to understand. That is to say, lives are consciousnesses since the states of consciousnesses determine the existence form of lives and living environments. When a state of consciousness of a life is a pig, it lives in the livestock world in the form of a pig. When the state of consciousness of a life is a person, it appears in the material world in the form of a human being. When the state of consciousness of a life is a celestial, it appears in the form of a celestial being in the environment such as the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. When the state of consciousness of a life is a god, it appears in the non-material world in the form of God. Why did Sun Wukong in Journey to the West have 72 changes in Avatar? Because he had mastered the mystery of making consciousnesses change at will. As his consciousness changed, his form of life changed with it. Lives are hierarchical, some belong to higher levels of life while others belong to lower levels. For example, flying birds are higher levels than insects. Animals are higher levels than plants. People are higher levels than animals. Gods, Buddha, and celestials are higher levels than people. The greatest creator is the highest level of life. Bacteria are the lowest levels of life. After understanding this basic common sense, we know that higher levels of life have absolute power of life and death over lower levels, that lower levels serve them, and that all of them serve the greatest creator. We know that all lives serve higher levels of life and the ultimate value is in serving the greatest creator. People raise chickens and pigs to serve people. If they did not, then they would lose their value for existence. Their loss of value for existence would surely result in their destruction. The value of the existence of people is to serve the greatest creator. If they do not, then they will lose their value of existence and will surely be made extinct. The so-called destruction does not mean that our lives would cease to exist, but that they could not exist as humans. They would have to be transformed into other forms such as descending into the animal world to serve humans. So, What is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to be an actor in the grand script of universal life. The entire universe is a great dramatic performance in which each life plays a role as required by the script. A reply to Moth Orchid. Moth Orchid, hello, guide. Most people are curious about the meaning of life and I am no exception. While managing to survive, I try my best to lead a meaningful life. I fully understand and agree with your advice about paying off my debts and ending my worldly ties during this life, but I would like to know in addition to that, whether everyone has any other meaning in their life or a mission to improve their souls. How do I find out and understand it correctly? Guide, as an individual life, your life is not only an inevitable role to play in the big script, but it also has many plays within the big play as well, such as writing a script of life by yourself, being a director and an actor, marrying and having children, running a company, and so on. Those are the other meanings of life that you asked about. As for the mission of improving your soul, you cannot perceive this, only higher levels of life know it. For example, Life Echanuan Celestials did not originally know their mission to sublimate their souls, they learned that only when they became Chanuan Celestials. The best way to find and understand other meanings to your life and your mission to improve your soul correctly is to listen to the teaching and guidance of gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and saints, and letting higher-level lives guide your way. Generally speaking, it is very difficult to realize it by yourself. Moth Orchid, as for you, would your life trajectory have been different were it not for the experience of your curious car accident? Would your life trajectory be very different now? If these changes had not occurred, would the meaning and value of the life you pursue be different? I wonder what the significance of the help and guidance that you provide to others is to yourself. Assuming that your values and views on life were different before and after the car accident, how have they respectively affected your soul? Guide, without that car accident, there would be no Life Echanuan and I would not have become the guide to life and life. I might have become the president of a company, in which case the trajectory of my life would be completely different. I would be pursuing money rather than to be reaping the ripe crops and ushering in the Life Echanuan era for humans, not serving for the whole of mankind and all lives, but serving for a nuclear family and glorifying my ancestors. The value and meaning of my life would be totally different. The value and significance of what I do now and what I do to help and guide you is to be rewarded as a super celestial being and to live on Barikia Island in the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. That car accident was the watershed of my life and the turning point of my life channel. Before the accident, I was confused, I knew neither where I came from nor where I was going, I only knew to keep myself busy with survival. Did not understand the meaning of accumulating merits and virtues or of paying my debts and of course needless to say, the mysteries of karma and the reincarnations of life. My soul, that is my consciousness, had been that of a human being, however after that special incident, I knew where I came from, where I would go, and what my mission was. My life has become quite distinct and clear, my soul, that is my consciousness, first restored my memory of the 1,000-year world and I gradually took on the soul of a super celestial being from the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. Moth Orchid, one more question, I can enter into the non-material world in my dreams, is there any way for me to let my consciousness enter into the non-material world freely when I am awake? Guide, yes, by the method of being free from the mortal body in meditation.